Hello students, in this video we are going to learn formulation of a decision table. How a decision table is formed from the given information. Formulation of a decision table or framing a decision table. We consider an example. A newspaper boy has the following probability of selling a magazine. Number of copies sold and probability is given. Newspaper boy sold 10 copies with probability 0.1. He can sell 11 copies with probability 1.5, 12 copies with probability 0.2, 13 copies with probability 0.25 and 14 copies with probability 0.3. Cost of a copy is rupees 3, cost of a copy is rupees 3 and sale price is rupees 5. He cannot return the unsold copies. Prepare a payoff table or a decision table. We have to prepare a payoff table from this given information. See here, in newspaper boy, first he stocks some newspaper or purchases some newspaper from the agency and then he sold this newspaper. He take newspaper from the agency at rupees 3 per unit and he sell at rupees 5 per unit or per newspaper. Okay. So here the question is, how many newspaper has to be stocked or has to be purchased so that he can get a maximum profit. In this point of view, first we have to prepare a payoff table or a decision table and then using any one of the criteria, EMV or EOL criteria, we can find the best decision. What are the actions? Here the actions are purchasing or stocking 10 newspapers, 11 newspapers, 12 newspapers, 13 newspapers and 14 newspapers. So we have taken actions A1, A2, A3, A4 and A5 be the actions of purchasing or stocking 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14 newspaper respectively. So respectively means A1 is the action of purchasing 10 newspaper, A2 is the action of purchasing 11 newspaper, A3 is the action of purchasing 12 newspapers, A4 is the action of purchasing 13 newspapers and A5 is the action of purchasing 14 newspapers. Okay. What are the states of natures here? Here the states of natures is the demand. If demand is 10, then he can sold the 10 unit. Demand is 11, then he can sell 11 units or 10 units. Suppose he has stocked only 10 units or he has purchased only 10 units and if demand is 11, then he has to sell 10 units and told his customer to take a newspaper from the another stall. Okay. So let S1, S2, S3, S4 and S5 be demand, that is selling of 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14 newspaper respectively. That is S1 is the demand or selling of 10 newspaper, S2 is the demand of selling 11 newspaper, S3 is the demand of selling 12 newspaper and S4 is the demand of 13 newspaper, S5 is the demand of 14 newspapers. Okay. So A1, A2, A3, A4 and A5 are the course of actions and S1, S2, S3, S4 and S5 are the states of natures as defined earlier. Okay. Now see here, cost is given. Cost of a copy is rupees 3. Means he takes a paper for rupees 3 and he sells a paper at rupees 5. So profit per newspaper or that is profit per unit is selling price per unit minus cost price per unit. Selling price is given rupees 5 minus rupees 3. This is equal to rupees 2 per unit. Profit per unit is rupees 2. If a newspaper is not sold, he has to bear a cost of rupees 3. See here, given that cost of a copy, he cannot return the unsold copies. He cannot return the unsold copies means he has, if a newspaper is not sold on the same day, he has to bear a cost of rupees 3. Now we are going to prepare a decision table or a payoff table where the payoff values are profit values. Here the payoff values are profit values. Okay. We have to prepare a payoff table or a decision matrix. So already we have taken actions in a row. A1 is the action of taking or stocking or purchasing 10 newspapers. Similarly, A2 is purchasing 11 newspapers. A3 is purchasing 12, A4 is purchasing 13, A5 is purchasing 14 newspapers. States of natures are demand. Demand is 10, demand is 11, demand is 12, demand is 13 and demand is 14. So here what is the profit? See here, if you have purchased a 10 newspaper and you have a demand is 10, that is you have sold 10 newspaper, rupees 2 profit per unit or per newspaper. So you have purchased 10 newspapers and sold 10 newspaper, and you will got a 10 into 2, this is equal to 20 profit. Profit for 20 newspapers, profit for 10 newspapers is 20. Profit for 10 newspapers is 20. So 20 is here. Okay. Suppose he purchased 10 newspaper and demand is 11. Demand is 11. Then he will not sell 11 newspapers. So he can sell only 10 newspaper and the remaining 1 newspaper can be taken from the another stall. Okay. So he sell 10 newspaper and profit per unit is rupees 2. So 10 into 2 again profit is rupees 20, because he only sold 10 newspaper. Even though demand is 11, he cannot sold 11 newspaper because he purchased only 10 newspaper. So he can tell a customer, you can take 1 copy from the another stall. Similarly, if he purchased 10 newspapers and demand is 12, so he can sell only 20 newspapers. He can sell only 10 newspapers and therefore profit for 10 newspaper is 20. Similarly, this is 20 for remaining sales, profit is 20. Okay. See here, if he purchased 11 newspapers and only demand is 10. He purchased 11 newspaper, only demand is 10. So he purchased 11 newspapers, so he can sell 10 newspapers. 10 newspapers. So his profit is 10 into 2 is 20. But 1 newspaper left and that cannot be sold further. Okay, 1 newspaper is left and that cannot be sold further. So he has to bear cost of that newspaper, but cost of that newspaper is 3. Cost per unit is 3 given here. Cost is 3. So from that profit, the actual profit is 20 minus 3 is 70. Actual profit is 20 minus 3 is 70. See, one more time I will tell you how this 17 comes. He purchased 11 newspapers, but demand is only 10. So he can sell 10 newspapers, therefore profit is 10 into 2 is 20. But 1 newspaper he has already purchased for rupees 3 and that cannot be sold further. Therefore, that rupees 3 already gone from his packet. So we have to subtract this rupees 3 from this profit. So net profit is rupees 17. Then similarly, if he has purchased 11 newspapers, demand is 11. So 11 into 2 is equal to 22 is the profit. 22 is the profit. He purchased 11 newspapers. Demand is 12, so he can sell only 11 newspapers. So 22, 22, 22. Similarly, he purchased 12 newspapers and demand is only 10. He purchased 12 newspapers, demand is 10, so he can sell 10 newspapers. So 2 into 10 is 20, but 2 newspapers are left here. 2 newspapers are left. So for each newspaper cost is 2, so for 2 newspaper cost is 6. So net profit is 20 minus 6 is equal to 20 minus 6 is 14. So 14 comes here. Okay. Similarly, he purchased 12 newspapers and sold only 11. So he sold 11, so 11 into 2 is 22, but one newspaper is left. So for that newspaper, he has to bear rupees 3 cost. So 22 minus 3 is 90. So here 90. Okay. Similarly, he purchased 12 newspapers and he sold 12 newspapers. So 12 into 2 is 24. So his net profit is 24. He purchased 12 newspapers, demand is 13, but he has to sold only 12 newspapers. So profit is 24 again. Profit is 24. Now he purchased 13 newspapers and demand is only 10. So since demand is 10, so he sold 10 newspaper. So profit for 10 newspaper is 2 into 10 is equal to 20. But 3 are left. So 20 minus 3 into 3. This is equal to 20 minus 9. 20 minus 9 is 11. So 11. Because he has to bear a cost of unsold papers. 3 unsold paper, each paper is for rupees 3. So total he has to bear a cost of rupees 9. So 20 minus 9 is 11 here. Okay. He purchased 30 newspapers and demand is only 11. So he has to sold 11 newspapers. So profit is 11 into 2 is equal to 22. But 2 newspapers are left in this pack. 2 newspapers are left. So that cannot be sold. So for that 2 newspaper, cost is 2 into 3 is 6. So 22 minus 6 is 22 minus 6 is 60. This is 60. He purchased 13 newspapers and demand is 13. For each paper he has 2 rupees profit. So 13 into 2 is the total profit, that is rupees 26. He purchased 13 newspaper, demand is 12, so he has to sold 12 into 2 is equal to 24 profit. So one newspaper left, so he has to bear a cost of that newspaper. So 24 minus 3 is 90 here. 90. 24 minus 3 is 21. This is 21. Similarly, he purchased 13 newspapers and demand is 13. So 13 into 2 is equal to 26. So this is 26. Again this is 26 because he purchased only 13 newspapers but demand is 14, but he cannot sold 14 newspapers. So this is 26. The last row, he purchased 14 newspapers but demand is 10. Since demand is 10, he has to sold only 10 newspapers. Okay, he has to sold only 10 newspapers. Therefore, if he sold 10 newspapers, his profit is rupees 20, but he has to bear a cost of remaining 4 newspapers. So 20 minus cost of remaining 4 newspapers. 4 into 3. Each newspaper is 4 rupees 3. So this is equal to 20 minus 12 is 8. 20 minus 12 is 8. He purchased 14 newspapers. Demand is only 11. So he sold 11 newspapers. So profit is 11 into 2 is 22. But there are 3 papers left. So he has to bear a cost of 3 papers, that is minus 3 into 3. So this is equal to 22 minus 9. 22 minus 9 is, this is 30. He purchased 14 newspapers. Demand is 12. So he can sold 12 newspapers. So profit for 12 newspaper is 12 into 2 equal to 24. And he has to bear a cost of 2 papers. 24 minus 2 into 3, that is 6. So this is equal to 80. This is equal to 80. He purchased 14 newspapers and only demand of 13 papers. So 13 into 2 is the total profit, equal to 26 minus he has to bear a cost of 1 paper, that is 3. So this is equal to 26 minus 3 is 23. At the last, he has a demand of 14 newspapers. He has purchased 14 newspapers. So 14 into 2 is the 28 is the total profit. In this way, we can formulate or frame a decision matrix or a payoff table from the given information. This is very interesting, and all these payoff values are profit values here. Hope you understood, students. Thank you.